Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. You are live on Shally's Alley, October 10th. Finally, the fall season, and it's getting chilly. I may even need to turn my heat on at some point this week, maybe. Last year, we didn't have anything cool at all until after Halloween, which was a bummer. But this year, it's definitely getting cooler sooner, and man, I couldn't be happier. This is my kind of weather. I love fall weather. I love fall weather more than any other weather because in spring everything is really pretty, but I am assaulted by the allergies in Atlanta, and there's nothing you can do about it. We're famous for having like a yellow blanket of pollen on everything. And in the fall, I'm not allergic to whatever the pollen is. So, how about where you are in your neck of the woods up in DC? You're in DC or in Maryland or where? What part of the country
Yeah.
are you?
Hey, I'm in Northern Virginia. I'm in Fairfax County, and
Oh,
you speaking about that blanket of yellow. That's exactly what happens to us.
no
You
way,
walk out to
really?
your car. Oh, your car is you have a blanket of yellow dust all
It's
over your car. It
yucky.
gets into everything here in Northern Virginia, and I don't know what it is about getting older, Shally, but the older I've gotten, the allergies have gotten worse. This
I
seems like
know
the
they don't get
allergies have gotten
better. You'd
worse.
think that you'd get
No.
like your body be like, "Yo, I've seen this before," but
Yeah.
no. Instead, it's like, "Hey, you're being assaulted by this." So, well, folks, for everybody that is joining us, I would like you to meet my friend Liz. And I am going to introduce Liz as the one that got away. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Yeah, before you get, before your husband gets jealous or anything like that. So I was trying to build. I wasn't just trying. I actually did build my dream team at a company, and Liz applied for the last role that we had open on my team, and I was really excited. And I did everything I could to try to get her, but I couldn't snag her. So she's the one that got away, and she left for something else. Better job, I'm sure. I hope anyway. But ever since then, I'm like, I want to hire this person because I just wanted to work with you, like totally. So I never had a chance to work directly with Liz, but I did interview her. And do you remember? Well, I don't know if you want to share this. If you don't want to share this, go ahead. But do you remember what I told you during the interview?
I don't remember what you told me, but I definitely remember our conversation in terms of we had a very lengthy
We
conversation,
did. Yep.
and I so wanted to work with you, and maybe someday I still will.
I hope so.
Which I would love the opportunity because you're one of the many leaders in our industry that I've followed, and I feel like have really taught me what I know to this day.
Oh,
So it's true, very true.
well, thank you. I was just super excited. Do you remember a little bit about the conversation that we had?
Well, we talked about like
I know it was
the
like
company
4
you're
years
working
ago.
for. Yeah, it was an RPO. We were talking about technology, probably about most likely technology,
Yeah.
because at the time I was like, I'm still obsessed with technology. But I was probably just really getting into it back then.
Right. It
Probably
was a
really
little bit
excited to
early.
tell
Yeah.
you about it. I
Right.
probably
You
was
had
talking
just
about
started
TikTok.
learning. The first time
Um,
I tried to hire you for a different job, you weren't quite ready for that job yet because it was very early. You had just started, like you had just found sourcing was your sort of direction. And then the second time I called you, it was a lot more. Yeah, it wasn't the company used to be an RPO, and
okay.
I started my own product line and there, and it was basically a solutions consulting firm for sourcing, and we were doing some really advanced stuff with automation, which lo and behold, back in the day was like Power Automate and things that were a little bit more or headier, more technical. You needed to know a little bit of scripting and stuff like that. But I gave you some tips and advice on that. I spoke to every candidate. that expressed interest and completed the application because the application wasn't easy. And I remember, setting up the meeting with you specifically and was like, man, this would be, so awesome if you could, you're like, I'm not sure. And I said, well, I know you don't know all this stuff, but we're building it. So we don't either, so you're going to learn it. So I guess you went out and you did that on your own, and you went
Yes.
and built all this other stuff on your own. And so when you signed up for the show, I mean, I invited you. I know that I kept begging you to come on the show, but when you finally agreed, you made a comment on the form, my intake form, about what you wanted to talk about. And it caught my attention because, again, when you applied for the job, it was the same kind of, I got the same sense then that I got now. And that's one of the things that I think is really engaging about you're always your joy, like your joy everywhere you go. And when you filled out the form, you said you wanted to talk about the power of just getting to know people. And what was the other thing you said? The power of getting to know people and being forever curious. So the being forever curious is like that to me. That's me. Have you ever done Clifton Strengths Finder or any of those things?
No, I
Like
don't think so.
disc and stuff like that. Well, there's one called
Oh, well,
Clifton.
yeah, desk. Yeah, yeah. Of course, I know desk.
There's
Yeah.
one called Clifton Strengths Finder, which I think is now owned by Gallup or whatever. And it goes and tells you what your strengths are. And so the idea is a lot of these tools say, here's your strengths and weaknesses, here's your gaps, go fix these things. But Clifton Strengths says, here's your strengths, play to these strengths. Well, my number one strength on the top of that stack, where it says all five of these are equal, of course, they have to say that. All five of these are equal, but the number one is the one that you exceed the most. And for me, it was input, which is, so we have this same like thirst for curious, like we just have this input need, right? And that you put that in the intake again, it's like the third time I'm getting this from you. I want to dive into that. Tell me about this thirst for knowledge, or is it just curious? Where does this come from? Who's lit your fire
Yeah.
for that?
I probably have my parents to owe that to. And I don't know if it's necessarily a positive thing,
I think
because
it is.
the way I grew up, it's just they were always questioning everything I did. Why do you want to do that? Blah blah blah. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
Asian parents, so it wasn't always a positive.
Sounds
But
Socratic, the Socratic method.
yeah, but so what happened was, as I got older, I applied that to everything: education, relationships. I just remember in college, you know, I was never like the nerd or the know-it-all for sure. I was never the know-it-all, but
No,
I
but the
was.
curiosity
Yes,
is your superpower.
but the one that got me was I wanted to know more because I needed clarification. If something didn't make sense to me, you bet you I would raise my hand. And it was like that all throughout college, all every job I've had. I I even got reprimanded for it one time
For
because,
being curious? No.
yeah, well, a couple of jobs ago, I'm not going to say which job, um, they didn't like my communication style of being forever like, okay, I
Asking.
understand we're doing things this way,
But why?
but can you explain to me why? Like,
Right.
I understand, but let's talk this through. And it was seen as not very positive. It was a smaller company, and I think just
I
it
know where that
thoughtless.
comes from. And for what it's
Yeah.
worth, the way around that is, so it comes from I have the same thing. And this is the feedback that I was getting. And so um, I hired an executive coach and I worked on it. So the way I've managed that is, instead of, can you tell me why we're doing it this way? Which to you sounds like, I really would like to know why it's done this way so that I can understand it. But to them, it sounds like, man, y'all are stupid. Why are you doing it this way? Which is not at all what we mean. So instead of that, you say, can you walk me through how we got to doing it this way? Were there any other, options that were tried? What other options were tried? And again, I'm just trying to understand, as opposed to like, why
Yeah.
are we doing it this way? Because
Yeah.
that sounds like we shouldn't be doing it this way. Anyway, so you got
Yeah.
reprimanded for that. I get it. That happened to me too. Not exactly a reprimand, but more
Yeah.
like
And you probably took it
feedback from
personal.
my
You're like,
360.
yeah, you mean it's hard not to take a person. You're like,
Right.
in your head,
I
you
didn't
know
mean that.
otherwise. You're not trying to. But you know what? I've had some really great leadership in the years since who have told me to embrace it, embrace it. That's who you are and move. So someone told me that.
Yeah, just
They're
reframe the question, basically.
right. And someone's opinion is not the opinion. So where I am now,
Unless
I
it's
have
your.
to
I'm just kidding.
well, now I'm at home. But the company I'm at now, Warner Brothers, I have to shout out my manager. She is amazing. And she supports that frame of thought, just like Forever Curious. And she knows how curious I am. I'm always asking questions. And in my head, when it comes to our jobs, I think people who are in the sourcing field, we all have a quality of wanting to know more
Mhm.
and never being satisfied. I'm never
Not
satisfied. I always
satisfied.
feel
Yeah,
like
that can't
there's
be it.
always something right. There's always something else. Like, I can this job's really hard. I understand it's hard, but there's someone out there. Like I embrace that challenge. And there's always a different way. And I think that's where my curiosity comes into play is how can I think outside the box? I just naturally think
Mhm.
there's something, what else can I do? And that's just what drives me
Yeah.
internally.
I think that's a big
And it
differentiator between a sourcer and a recruiter is the recruiter is a systems thinker. They've got things that have to be there's gates that have to be passed. There's if you're going to interview people, you need to interview them all in the same manner so that it's fair. But with sourcing, we're not a systems thinker. We're more like you said. We got to find a way around it because the regular way didn't work. So we're the alternative. By definition, I think that comes with a big degree of curiosity.
Yes, exactly. And I call it myself as following the breadcrumbs
Yeah.
because you meet somebody, who might know someone else or might be connected to an organization or, you know, that can just kind of spider and bring you to what you need. It might be a little bit slower to start, but it's so worth it once you get started. Once you plant that kind of seed and it starts growing, um, it's definitely paid it forward. I'll tell you one thing when it comes to the curiosity is um, that's basically how I got my job now, where
Oh,
I'm at Warner
okay.
Brothers. So not so much a curiosity, but like that spidering effect and relationships. I
Uh-huh.
think I probably shared with you in the past, um, strengthening those relationships are really part of our jobs, right? Um, and years and years ago, before the pandemic, I got involved. That's when I got involved in SourceCon, and
Hmm.
I met you at HRTX, and all these leaders of in our industry now, who I learned of back then. I've been following throughout the years, and one of them, Batman, as everyone knows him. I connected with him and his Discord page. So I followed, his Discord channel for years, and I was on there for education, teach myself, and just to network. And that's really like one of the things that opened me up to a lot of other leaders because you could follow them and see conversations and discussions. And quite honestly, I think that's the best way to learn is just by following what are the people talking about, what tools are being used. Anyways, someone posted a job in there, and I reached out to them because we had the mutual connection and started interviewing. And that's basically how I got my job at WBD right now because she was like a manager here. And it's just because we had the mutual connections. And it's just the power of relationships. It's beyond powerful to say none the least.
Yeah.
And I think people underestimate that and they underutilize that. But really, I think it's gotten me to everywhere where I've been how I've gotten to where I am now, essentially.
Curiosity and just kind of the relationship building.
Yeah,
Even though,
exactly.
some people, I mean, in the sourcing field might believe that you only do the front end of the process and you're not really kind of connecting with people necessarily. And that's the part of our job that is research. But it's like, you can say the same thing in recruiting. In recruiting, you can treat it very transactional, apply for a job and, just move the application through. Or you can treat recruiting with compassion and genuine networking. The same thing with sourcing. So I don't think that it's necessarily in the nature of sourcing. That's more in the nature of you. But you put that curiosity together with that um, connection, and it's builds. I think what you're saying, and I'm hearing is it builds long term rewards. It builds like
Mhm.
a staying power um, that goes with you even if you end up going to another industry, like you're recruiting maybe for entertainment now, but if you ever go into another field, you still have that network, even though they may not be in the same industry. So
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about the with automation, and because we started talking about automation when I the
yeah,
first two times that I tried to hire you. um, and so I just wanted to kind of check in with you. It's been 4 or 5 years, I think, since we first. I think we met a longer ago. We met longer than that ago, but it's been 4 or 5 years since we spoke about work. So how do you personally keep the sourcing human? Connecting, like you're saying, the connection, the curiosity, and the connection with the automation. Because I think today it matters a lot more than before. How do you maintain that perspective, that balance?
Pace of change in the world of business is fast, and that drives incredible complexity for the world of human resources.
Welcome to the HR Data Lab's Brown Bag Lunch, a series of conversations with experts inside and outside the world of human resources on how to innovate, measure, and evolve our practices.
Our goal is to help provide you with practical examples of how HR has to change and to meet in this complex business environment.
Every week, we'll talk to new and different voices on all aspects of human resources.
And guess what? You get to chat with us live.
Live?
Live.
So they can answer questions or they can ask us questions.
They can ask, they can answer, whatever they want. They get to talk with us live.
That's awesome.
Sometimes we geek out on the data and technology that underlie the processes that drive the world of HR.
But the conversations are always insightful and fun. So please enjoy the HR Data Lab's Brown Bag Lunch.
yeah. Well, you have to put in perspective, put yourself, make it more human because these people that you are sourcing for, they're like you and I. They're our family members. They're everybody that we are in our lives, you know? So
Right.
it's like we have all these technologies to help us find those people. But in my head, I just think about, well, what if that was me? How I don't want that person to, I don't want to come off as, come off in a certain way. I keep it human by just making them feel like they can trust me, making them feel like they're talking to a real person who's understanding what they want in a job, or even the hiring manager what their pain points are. It's humanizing everything just conversationally.
Are you
Yes, we
ever
can.
transparent about like um, like I'll connect the dots with the reason
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Mhm.
I've been doing automation longer than probably most, if not almost everybody, probably in recruiting, because I've been doing it since it was like green screens, and I've always been transparent about the automation. For example, I used to use mail merge right back before CRMs had sequencing. I used to
Yeah.
use spreadsheets and Outlook and mail merge, email merge. So what sometimes people would ask, hey, is this a form letter or this, because
Oh, I
back
see.
then there wasn't
Yeah.
a lot of personalization options. It was just Excel, you didn't have a lot. And I would be like, I would reply back right away, and I would be honest, but yes, I use a template, but I customize my messages. So, rest assured, it's me sending it and I'm receiving it and I'm replying right away. But I do use a template because otherwise it would take too long for me to basically repeat a lot of the same stuff back and forth, and I'll
Yeah.
even be transparent when I reply back, and I'll say, even when I'm replying to you, I have templates. Like if you asked me a question about this or that, I would have quick parts in my Outlook and stuff like that. Like I use technology, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's really me saying that, and it's not automated to the point where I'm not there.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying now. So we use Hire Easy, which I've grown to just I love Hire Easy and their drip campaigns. So I do the drip campaigns, and I'll message a number of people.
Mhm.
But what I do, I make sure that every person that I've created a project, everybody in that project has something common that I can speak to
Okay.
in the messaging.
Yep.
So even if you're mass messaging for some of these
There's
tech
a
roles,
connection.
there's still that connection no matter what.
Yep.
And then you mentioned whenever someone responds to that campaign that I've done, I have Magical. I use Magical, and I create these templated phrases. So whenever I need to respond to someone's question, I don't have to type it out. I just do the little phrase, and
Right.
then boom, like right there.
Yeah, that's the same.
But it's my words. But
It's
it's
your
still
that's
my
right.
words. It's still my words. Like it's how I would react to someone. But it saves me time and energy from having to type that out and write the response. It's there.
Are you
So
transparent
that's
about that, or just when they ask?
if
I'm
they
just
ask,
curious.
totally. I've had
Okay.
people ask me like, oh, because I always ask them, oh, what prompted you to respond to me? And they say, oh, you really spoke to me, or your email resonated with me. And I usually thank them and say, yeah, thank you. And then they ask me any questions about it. I'll say, we do use part of my job as there are tools available to us to message people. And so I kind of keep it vague, but I do tell them, we have tools available to us within our jobs that allow us to message a number of people. I'm always transparent. I don't see the point in hiding things. I've always been that way. Obviously, as long as it's to a degree, can be situational, of course. But yeah, I don't see why hide things nowadays. Everybody knows, there's
Right.
chat.
Exactly.
Everyone's using
There's
ChatGPT. Everyone's using
yeah,
technology. If you're not, I'm sorry.
and just don't doesn't
You
need to
need to
hide it.
be. You
Right.
need to catch up with us. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are ways to humanize automation. I think it's just a matter of how you use it. It can be scary for those who aren't familiar or aren't using it. You can easily, be too scared and have negative thoughts about it. But I think once you're in it, you realize, oh, it's not. I
Yeah.
can tailor this,
You can
and because I
absolutely.
can
Yeah.
tailor it,
Yeah.
that's how you humanize
And
it.
it's
That's how you
easier than
humanize.
ever to tailor, honestly,
Oh, totally,
nowadays. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now you've built some sourcing strategies um, in AI, in the AI space, in public
Mhm.
health, creative. And I think at Warner Brothers now you're working sort of on the
Doing a lot of technical right now.
technology, and
Mhm.
yeah. How do you tailor your relationship building across different industries? Is your relate is what we're talking about the same any industry, or are there specific things that you tailor when you switch from
Oh, yeah.
tech to yeah? What it was? Tell me about that.
Yeah, totally. So I've supported the tech folks, and I've supported design creatives. They're very different groups of people. Creatives, you talk to differently. Technical people, they respond better to data, analytics, like facts. Whereas it's very much more subjective when you're supporting, the creative realm. So I change that. I alter it. So with the technical ones, it's pulling market data, talent mapping to really get them to see the facts and where the talent is in the market, how they're going to attract them, using tools that will help you figure out the best time of year to hire, even. So just using numbers and data to support that resonates with the technical side of the folks that I'm
Okay.
supporting.
Right.
Whereas like right now I have multiple creative roles, but it's more subjective. And it's more of, I build the relationship by getting them to understand. I get their vision. I get what their goals are. I get their excitement. Like I tune in and I think and I'll speak to this because I think it helps across the board for any sorcerer is you match the level or you match the personality of the person you're speaking to. So the hiring team, you kind of match their energy.
Oh, okay.
It gets them
So
to
even as a
feel
sorcerer, you're getting
comfortable.
to know that.
Yeah, you get them to feel
Yeah.
comfortable with you and open up. And same thing with the technical side, whatever industry you're sourcing for, I think a key thing is just understanding how to match them on a personal level to make them feel like you not only hear them but you understand them, and that kind of I don't know how you there's a word for it. I can't get it, but like matching their energy, and it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I've been able to really relate to such different groups of individuals that I support here and anywhere, any job I've been at. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Uh,
So do you interview more than just the hiring manager then? Like do you also talk to the
oh,
interview panel and you know what I'm saying?
no, I don't talk to the panel at this where
To
I
kind of
am
get to
now,
know what
but
we're talking about.
I in the past I have talked to the teams, like gotten to know the actual teams. Like when I was in person, my last in-person job, I was able to just walk upstairs or walk to wherever the team that I support, say hi. It's a little different when you're working remotely. It's hard to kind of do that, and then especially when you're working for such a large company where people are just spread out all over the country. It makes it tougher. But I will say, because of things like Slack, Teams, Zoom, like all the options that we have to communicate does make it easier. But not here, but at past jobs I have where I've been able to just like talk to not just the hiring manager, but the people to get an idea of, no, I'd say I've done this here. If it's just a role that's brand new, let's say, or a skill set that I'm not familiar with, one strategy is getting to know someone who's actually doing that job on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like when I started in the beginning of the year, I started supporting this one our tech division, and I did reach out to people, various people on the teams, just kind of not really shadow, but to get an idea, a sense of like a day in
Understand.
the life.
Yeah.
A
Right.
day, yeah. And I think that really helps when you talk to candidates. It gets them to realize, oh, like I get
To
it,
know
and
them.
to
The
trust you,
team.
because
Right.
people are so skeptical now. You have to
That's
really be able
true.
to
Yeah.
hit on that.
I
If
get
you
that a
don't
lot.
understand,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, why would a candidate speak to you if you don't
If you
understand,
don't know
if
the
it
company, the team, the job. Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a situational thing. Some things, it's not necessary. Some roles it's not necessary, or in some skills it is. It is. Depends on where you're strong, what you're
I
strong
think,
in.
yeah, it matters, especially it matters when you're recruiting at a certain level. I think if there's a lot of the same kind of roles and the managers if there's a lot of them, if there's supervisors or something like that, might be a little bit different. But when the team is very dependent on the culture
Mhm.
of the leader and such, I think that makes a lot of sense because they will ask. I mean, even during the first 30 minutes of the conversation, they'll ask questions about the boss or the team or
So hands
uh,
down,
yeah.
yeah.
Now you mentored sorcerers, you've led teams. Are are you teaching others to be curious, and is that possible? If so, how are you
So
teaching them to be curious rather than
yeah,
just task list? You know,
yeah. I hope so. I hope I am.
well,
And
how?
my teammates that I work with now, I'm always knowledge sharing. I think knowledge sharing is just the key to everything, and getting them to want to know more. So anytime I see an article, anytime I see
Mm,
a webinar or any kind of learning, I share that
you
all the
share it.
time with
Okay.
my team. Yeah. maybe a little bit too much. They're probably like, oh, here's another one from Liz. But like, I think my goal is not to just shove it down their throat, but just to open up their minds and kind of saying like, oh, this is what's going on in the industry. And sometimes during our team calls, we'll have conversations, and then that's when I speak up and start talking about these things and trying to spark ideas in them. I think it's just the energy and hearing from them. Like, let's say, oh, there's a bug. Let's say, someone's having an issue with a position. All it takes is a suggestion, something that they haven't tried before, and then they're like, oh. And then I might suggest. I'm trying to think of okay, for example, let's say someone's really struggling on finding. They're finding the same people over and over and over. Well, have you thought to maybe try a different browser? Do a different type of Boolean? So they're like,
Right.
oh, I didn't
Have you
know that. I
tried
didn't know changing browsers or,
insert engine
changing
or
how
whatever?
how changing the wording. Or I didn't know what's X-raying. So that just leads to questions. And then I foster that. And then they're kind of like, oh, tell
Oh,
me more.
give us.
There's always something. There's always something. And I hope they're getting that. And I think they are. I've had conversations with people, and then not just people on my team, but peers, people I know in the industry. I had a friend who was prior military, and so she went military versus the college route, and so she did college after the military, and then she was curious to learn about what I did in recruiting, and it opened up her mind, like just kind of filling in like what I do, and then she just kept wanting to know, okay, tell me more, and then now she's fast forward, it's been like 5 years since now she's been in it, and now we can have actual conversations, and she actually teaches me things as well.
Love
So
it.
it's not just about getting people to be curious, but also
Teaching.
they get you
Basically,
to
what I'm
be
hearing you.
yeah, getting to be curious to myself, like them educating me too. So it's a two-way street also, I have to
So
say.
yeah, so it's like almost like teaching makes other people. You teaching makes them curious.
I would say, I don't know if it's teaching, but like more recommendations maybe, because I don't want to preach, like I don't
No, no, no. I see.
I've
I understand
always
what
been
you're saying.
sensitive to, like,
Yeah,
because
you're not talking down
I'm
to
not
them.
telling, yeah, I'm
You're
not talking down to
sharing.
them.
I guess
Yeah,
I should say
exactly.
you
Yeah,
sharing is because you're sharing makes them curious, and if say you weren't
yeah,
sharing, it may be a little bit more difficult for them to be to learn to be curious because if they feel like maybe they shouldn't be
yeah,
asking or whatever, right? And there could be something there. Yeah. So
yeah.
I totally
I
get
always
that.
think of the Reading Rainbow. Remember Reading Rainbow? The more
I
you know.
don't I remember I didn't grow up in this country, so I a little bit of
Oh,
a yeah. I'm an
yeah.
ESL, as they say.
Oh, yes, yes.
Um, I do miss on some of the cultural references, especially from childhood stuff. Um, but tell me, so um, French fries.
Yes. Yeah. I get people asking me that a lot, and I don't remember. I Years ago, I took, I don't know if it was a course or what was it, but it was on like self branding. Okay.
Yep.
And I was thinking to myself, what is something that I love? What's something that I can do to stand out? And one day I was like, oh, I was looking through all emojis, and I was like, oh, a French fry emoji. Oh, that's cool. I love, because I'm obsessed with French fries. And
Okay. Okay. So
um
there's that. All right. Now I
yeah, I'm obsessed
okay.
with French fries. I actually am a weakness for McDonald's, so I do love my McDonald's, and their French fries.
French fries. Okay.
And so
I'm getting the theme now.
I think originally I might have put in my bio at one point something about French fries, and then over the years it's evolved, and I keep changing it up on how it's phrased, and like how I
Okay.
include that somehow in there.
I think it
But
was great
then
sourcers are like French fries, timeless classics, best
oh
when seasoned with innovation.
yes, yes, because it really is.
Seasoned.
I mean,
Call me
every
seasoned.
Yeah. um, yeah, I mean, every fry is different. So every person is different. Like everybody's different that you talk to. And that's just like French fries. But no, it's just something I'm obsessed with them. My stomach could be so full and I could be like disgusted with myself. But if there's fries, I'll eat
French fries.
them. Like
But see, I
I'm
thought
more
it
of
was
a
like
savory person than sweet. So
that. Me too,
I'll
for
eat,
sure.
I'll eat more salty and savory things like till I
I
pass
do
out.
remember that about you. That's true. But you know what though? What I was thinking, and I thought this is what made me think about French fries from our past conversations, is um, it's kind of like the humble fry, right? The potato that fed the world during famine, and so it's kind of a very modest food. It's not fancy. It's not expensive, but you can do a lot with it. So it's a very it's like I see the connection to sourcing because you can do a lot with French fries. You can make just regular crispy, McDonald's fries. You can make garlic fries. You can make aioli. You can make truffle fries. You can make poutine in Canada. The gravy with
Mhm.
cheese. There's so much you can do with it, and it's all about how you prepare it and season it. But at the center of it, it's still a stick of potato.
Basic, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's just so much you can do with it, and it also reminds me that everything that is modern, everything that is built upon, has at its center a French fry, right? Like you look at these modern technologies, whether it's Seek Out or Hire Easy or whether it's Juicebox or Proven Base or it doesn't matter what the technology is. All of it started with a French fry. It's still a French fry. Nobody's come out with another food that is better than that at doing the thing that it does. It's not like um, asparaguses make better French fries, or
Yeah.
sweet
Although
potatoes don't make
a zucchini
zucchini fries.
fry is actually
Maybe,
pretty good. I
but
have
it's
to say those are
variation.
pretty
It's
good.
not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it all at the center of it. It all came from let's julienne some potatoes and flash fry them, and everything else is layered on top of that. Even if it's
Exactly.
really good and you could sell 30-cent French fries, or you can sell $3,000 French fries. Still French fries.
Hmm.
That's kind of what I
Inside, the
was thinking.
base is still there.
Yeah, base is
And,
there.
I never thought of it that way. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I never thought of it that way. To me, it was just like,
Very
I love French fries.
utilitarian.
I'm gonna, you know, just let people know who I am. I'm a sourcer who likes French fries. That's just it's me. I will say what you see is what you get. There's no hidden
Yeah.
layers. Yeah, there's no hidden layers. I just put it out there. People good way for people to get to know me. It's a good I feel like it's a good icebreaker because people ask me like, what's up with the French fries? And or
It
I'll meet
works.
people at an event and they're like, "Oh, you're the French fry. You have the French fries on your profile." I'm like, "Yeah, that is me." So it's definitely become a what's it called?
Calling card.
Something people recognize me by.
I could see you at a conference handing out French fries.
I totally would. You know what? At my wedding, we had French fries handed
Of
out
course.
as a late night, like after when everything was settling down. We fed people milkshakes and French fries.
Oh my God. Why wasn't I
Yeah,
invited?
that was way before I even met you. Well, actually, I might have met you, but
I don't know. We met a long time ago, but
yeah,
so getting into kind of overtime here. Bonus question:
yeah.
if sourcing were a reality TV show, what role would you play? Do you even watch reality TV or not really?
The closest thing I watch are probably like the cooking ones.
Okay.
To be
If
honest,
sourcing
yeah,
were a cooking show,
yeah.
what role would you play?
I would probably be one of the judges. To
Yeah.
be honest, yeah, I would probably be one of the judges because I get to taste everything and
Okay.
eat everything. Yeah, and actually, I was talking with friends the
This
other
couldn't be
day.
more. You literally walked right into my. You set me up. I can't believe I switched on you and you set me up anyway. So you're going to be one of the judges, right? So
Yeah.
now the follow up to that is which tool or tactic would definitely get voted off by you. Like if you saw the competitor doing that or using that sourcing tool, you'd be like, out.
So I think it's twofold. And I know I mentioned this about mass messaging.
Yep.
So mass messaging could be great. Like you can message a number of people as
If
long
you
as you're being
segment
smart
correctly.
about it.
Yep. Segment.
But how many times have we gotten messages? You've gotten it, I guarantee everybody have gotten these spam messages that make 0 sense.
Yeah, like
0 cents.
hi,
Instantly.
Shally Steckrell, talent advisor, XYZ.
Like clearly, yeah.
Did you just
I
copy
see
and
right,
paste?
right through. That would be out of here in a heartbeat.
Right.
If someone served that
Okay.
up in the reality, I'd be like, you're out of here. Nice try. Like you're a fraud. Like
Do better.
you're just wasting.
Do
yeah,
better.
do better. Exactly. So it's
Nice.
twofold. You know, you can be smart
Okay.
about it, but
Right.
I know
Right.
we've all received that.
And we've all made mistakes. I mean, I've accidentally done that.
Of course. We could have a whole session on mistakes made from you know, just mistakes we've all made, but learn from, hopefully.
I try to learn for the most part. It might have taken me twice to learn a lesson or two or 4.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
thrice.
We're human. We're all human, right?
But
human.
ultimately, I learned the lesson, even if it pains me, and I might kick and scream. But I will definitely apply it, which is what has, I think, consistently made me. It's consistently led me to refine and improve my processes. I always do 2 things when I'm working on a whatever it is, sequence, experiment, a test. You know, usually I run a pilot first. Like I'll do small scale. You know, I'm not going to go into something and go, let's do 1,000 candidates. But I usually do 2 things. I'll iterate. So I'll always A/B. I'm going to do this way and then this way. So whenever I do a pilot or try something new, I try 2 ways and then pick one from there. And then the other thing that I keep notes on this, like I record it so that I can go back and learn what were the results and stuff like that. That's how the mission control came about. I was using mission control on a project and somebody else was like, what's that? And I showed them. And then it just kind of like from there, it just became, you know, everybody wanted to use it. It's nowadays a little out of date because it's a Google sheet, but back then it's all that we had. Right. And so I track it. A/B testing and tracking. And then the second thing that I always do is I go back and I evaluate like a postmortem on it, right? So if I did an A/B test and I just, kind of gut checked it and didn't do anything else with it, then I didn't really learn. Sometimes I'll do an A/B test and I'm 100% certain it's going to be A. Like I did this with, there was a project that I was doing for Spark Start, and they wanted to test video in outbound. So outbound video, we know that video on landing pages converts. We know that when jobs have video, they are much better at converting more accurately. Fewer people apply, but more qualified. We've known that for a while. They have evidence for it, but they didn't know that they wanted me to find out if this also worked when we were reaching people out to people. So we're sending them a link and they're going there. And I totally expected a certain thing to happen. And that was my hypothesis. And then I tested it. And then I went back and did the postmortem long after the results were complete. And I was shocked to find the opposite of what I had expected. What I thought would happen when sending out emails with links to landing pages that had video versus the exact same landing page without video, like literally half of the emails had video, half of them did not. Same everything, same segment, everything. I thought the ones with video would convert more. In other words, out of the percentage of people that landed, more would apply. Wouldn't that be your instinct or not?
I think it depends on the audience. Who was the audience that you were reaching out to?
So this particular audience was technical people, mobile developers in Toronto.
That's tough. And then how long was the video? Was it a short video?
The video was a 30-second video of the hiring manager introducing what their team does a day on the job. Like, hey, I'm Shally. This is what my team does.
Yeah.
Love to have you apply. Literally.
I think it depends on the audience. Depends certain,
But look at the
if
A/B
they,
though. Look at the A/B
yeah,
test. Would you
yeah.
assume that if I sent 100 people the link with the video and 100 people the link without the video, same job, would you assume or would you expect what I expected, which is
Yeah.
more of the 100 would click and convert with video than without?
I would think, yes, curiosity would cause someone to want to see what that was about. So you would think there would be more clicks. Was it the question that I would ask you is how easy was it to see that video? Was it
If
just
they
one click and opened? You didn't
Yep.
have to like,
Nope. One
okay,
click and open.
okay.
One landing
Yeah.
page. So they
That is
click,
interesting.
they would click and apply for the job,
Yeah.
or they would click and apply for the job with the video there. I mean, literally, it's the exact same thing. So I thought more people would apply because seeing the video would appeal.
Yeah. And
I
it
was
did, and it,
wrong. No, fewer people applied for the one on the video. Fewer.
huh.
So it wasn't 100. It was more like 700 or something.
That
like
is
that.
interesting.
But yeah, so
That is
that was what
interesting.
I was like. Yeah, the video is going to work, right? Of course, it works on landing pages.
Yeah.
But let's say out of the 100, 70 people applied without the video, and 20 people applied with the video. It was significant. It wasn't just a slight difference. So after I did the postmortem, then I went back and I repeated the experiment again to prove it. And now I didn't
Yeah.
try it with a different demographic. The second time I did it was the same role, but I went gender specific. So I was specifically targeting female engineers, and it was a female engineer manager in the video versus before that there was no gender specificity. And this was now I was comparing for gender because we had
Yeah.
a gap that we wanted. It
Mhm.
wasn't a bad gap, but we had 3 people leave the team that were females at the same time for very completely different reasons, which then was like, oops, like not because they were female, they
It's
just
unlucky.
happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It just
Yeah, and
happened that way.
right. So like 3 out of 7, and then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh. But anyways, and the same pattern happened. So what I learned after the postmortem, which completely turned my world upside down, was that fewer people applied because those were the people that really wanted the job. And on the other end, where more people applied, we had a lot of pre-screens that failed, and we had a lot of pre-screens that no-showed. So, in other words, let's say out of the 100 people without a video, let's say 50 of them applied, 10 of them scheduled appointments and didn't show up. Like that's a significant, number.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you exact numbers, but weighted against the 20 that applied instead of 50 for the video, all of them showed up and almost all of them passed the screen. So way fewer applicants, but way higher quality, which ended up saving a lot of time because it saved the sourcer's time on screening. It saved the recruiter's time on the whole workflow, fewer people in the workflow. And the hiring managers interviewed on average 1 person fewer per hire. So instead of 5 interviews per hire, 4 interviews per hire, which saved, so it was like a win, but for completely different reasons.
What happens when employees behave badly? Boy, we could do an entire TV show, maybe a Netflix special on that. Well, Ryan and I sat down and recorded episodes for FAMA, and we asked practitioners, give us your most outrageous story. The sales leader that brings cocaine to work, whatever. Just bring us the outrageous, and it is funny. So if you need a laugh, which we all do from time to time, search for workplace misconduct wherever you get your podcast, and you'll find it. And trust me, you will laugh and cry, but you'll definitely laugh. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of A/B testing
Yep.
and doing something like that. I've done that.
And then going
before.
back and thinking about it and going, why?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And the why, it's like I've done that with using humor in my messaging. Now you have to be very careful on the
Yes, you do.
demographic and who you're using humor.
But it works.
But some of these creatives, they're just so they're, you can do that with that
It
demographic.
works with yeah.
I could never do that with a security engineer. I could never do that with
Actually, I did.
Or me.
I
Me,
did.
okay. Did
I got
that
a
work?
funny one. I got a funny one for you. You know what the football is?
Like the sport football?
No, the football among security engineers. This may not be
No.
a commonly used term, but it was familiar enough to
Okay.
me. So a lot of times in teams where there's a lot of remote workers, um, and especially for the security team, they usually have a person that during some sort of company function or event has the football, which is a backpack with a toolkit in it that allows them to rapidly deploy in a security breach incident with access to the things that nobody normally has access to. So it's a hyper secure connection to the back end, and so it's kind of like the security. It's a big red backpack that they carry around so that anybody knows where they are at all times during an event or something like that. So my email message said it was the subject of that. It was I'm not quoting exactly right. It's something like, "Do you love all the attention you get when you have the football?" And that was the subject. It was something like, or do you like the attention when you have the football or something like that? And people, and it was specifically targeted at 24/7 situations, right? People that got the joke replied back and went, "Oh my God, I hate that. Everybody asks you what's in the backpack, what's in the backpack." And I'm like, yeah, we're hiring for this job.
Well, you know what? Something like that. I love a great subject line, because the subject
That's
line
what it
can
was,
weed.
humorous, but it wasn't like
Yeah, it can weed out the people you don't want. Why waste your
exactly.
time? Start it right at the beginning. Why waste your time on someone who's not going to get it? They might be qualified,
But they don't want to
but
have the football.
yeah, but they don't want that job.
They don't want the
So
football.
something like that, I've done that when it comes to when I'm looking at the portfolio or website of something that someone's done. And I don't remember what the subject line was, but something about Oreos, because someone did this campaign on Oreos, and my subject line was that, and I guarantee I got a response. So I think if your subject line is speaking to the person you want, and obviously it's hard. Unfortunately, we can't tailor every subject line to every person all the time. But on some of these really niche roles, these really difficult ones, you can take that time and you can really speak to your audience. And then it just weeds out, it's self-weeding, essentially, self-weeding. And that's what you did. And then that's what I've done for some of these creative roles. I'm gonna look that term up though. I'm gonna see, maybe I'll do some A/B testing on my own and see if that's something that gets me some of the folks that I need.
Yeah, it's related to the backpack that they carry, and
Yeah.
this was something that I was talking to the CISO during the intake call, and I was asking, part of the things that I do during my intake, I ask questions around things that are different, unique about the team, and is how can I sell the team? What you were talking about before, it's part of that conversation. And he said, well, we do a lot of events because there's like conferences and stuff like that, and sometimes our security team needs to carry around the football. And I'm like, the whatty? I had no idea. And so he's the one that explained it, and so I used it. It's the first time I'd ever heard it, but I understood from the CISO that this was not an unusual scenario.
See, and you're
In
tying back to your curiosity, you wanting to know
Yeah,
what that was. You followed the breadcrumb and then you use that. It all ties
yep,
back, like the curiosity. Every conversation that we have with someone can lead you to something else. Never not think about the conversation and what you can necessarily maybe not get out of it, but how you can use and further whatever you need or wherever you want to go. It's so small. It's just that one thing, but it's so big on the other
It's really
hand. And
targeted.
and I and I
Really
and
targeted.
I and you can't teach that though, Shally. You can't teach that. Some people just don't get that. But when you do, it's really amazing.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I kind of arrived at that, but a lot of A/B testing. Well, we're getting pretty close to running out of time here, and I always ask two questions at the end of the show. Those two questions are, first of all, before we go any further, I totally forgot. So much fun that I totally forgot to put your link up there. So,
Oh
folks,
yes.
if you want to connect with Liz, this is it. Literally couldn't be any easier on LinkedIn. Liz connects with two N's.
Yeah.
So please
I wish I
connect
could
with
put an
her. And
emoji there.
also, yeah, you could. What emoji do you want? French fries?
I would be French fries totally. Yeah.
You want to do French fries? Okay. Let's see if I can make that happen for you. Oh, yeah, I can. I sure can. Look at that. Did it reset?
Oh, love it. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Awesome. And of course, I would be a fool not to tell people about my AI browsers guide. So, this is a free toolkit. Download it and learn about AI browsers and all the different things that you can do with them. This is not chatbots, this is AI browsers. There's some serious risks, but there's also some serious rewards. So, please click on that. And last one, subscribe to the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, because if you don't subscribe, you will miss out on all of the podcasts. Okay, so now I can ask you the last two questions. Number one, who should be our next guest?
I would love to see someone like Greg Hawkes. Has he ever been on your show?
Ooh, I don't think so.
He would be a good one. He'd be a really good one.
On it.
Yeah.
Right.
I've learned a lot from him. I actually interviewed with him once too. I was totally fanning out, like girl fanning out when I was talking to him, because everything, like when it comes to scraping and data scraping, I learned
Mhm.
all of that from him. So he would be a great person to have a conversation about all that with.
Yeah, I know him, but I just haven't. I may have invited him a while back. I'll definitely hit him up again. I
Yeah.
definitely know him. So thanks. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, you're off the hook on that one. And then the last question is, folks a lot of times like to listen to this after work, and they're not really available on Fridays at 1. So a lot of times people watch and listen to the recording and on the podcast, of course. So I want to give them something to think about, a thought-provoking question. So give us something that we should ask ourselves.
Yes. That is a good question. Why? Maybe something to do with. That is a really good one, Shally. I'm a little stumped in that. It would have to be something about the why and uh, thought provoking. That is a good one. What is something
Make us
that what's something that resonates with you naturally?
Well, I want to tie it back to, how are you a French fry?
Oh,
How are
that.
you something that can be seasoned many different ways and used differently, and and almost like adapt to the environment? You can even have sweet French fries. You can
Yeah.
have spicy French fries. You can
Um,
have, you
well,
know.
I can easily get overly salty.
Oh yeah, well I
If you
was talking
get
about the
that,
audience
if you
asking
get
themselves how they like a
that.
French fry. Yeah, I got that. I got that.
um,
Call me spicy.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. I might have to. Oh, I'm not a very good thinker on my feet type of
No,
person.
that's okay. I think if we ask people to ask themselves, how
Yeah,
are they like a French fry, in that they can, adapt to their environment, if you will. That's
yeah.
pretty darn
What
good. So
what
I think
what
we
kind
can leave
of
it at that.
what kind of tools would you want to master? There's too many tools out there, but maybe ask yourself, um,
Okay.
What can you simplify? What can you maybe not necessarily automate, but what is your biggest challenge? And what tool can help you with that?
What tool can help you with that? Think of it like
Yeah, like
solving the
what's
problem
your
of,
pain point?
you know,
Exactly what we do in our intake calls. You know,
ideate something, a
exactly.
tool that even if it doesn't exist, what tool would help you do it? I like that.
What would you
Okay.
like, you know?
I like it. Let's do
And
that.
because
We're
it's
going with that.
we get inundated, it's hard, but just if you just focus on one and start there, you'll be surprised how far you get.
You got it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and taking time off your schedule for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you for
Folks,
having
we will
me.
see you at my, yeah, say goodbye to everybody.
Bye,
Sorry about
everyone.
that.
Thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
Thank you. Next up, we have Brandon Jeffs from. You've seen him in, he's got his own podcast and everything, so he'll be coming up next week. Hopefully, we'll see you back here. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify and check out Liz Connects on LinkedIn. Be kind to yourselves, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.